All right, let's dive right into one of the most mind-bending and, frankly, unsettling ideas in all of science. We're talking about the theory of quantum immortality. So think about it for a second. I mean, really think. Have you ever had one of those heart-stopping moments, a car swerving out of nowhere, a nasty fall you walked away from, a moment that left you breathless, asking yourself, how on earth am I still here? Well, the theory of quantum immortality has an answer for you, and it's not a comfortable one. The deeply uncomfortable truth, as you can see, is that mathematically speaking, you didn't survive.
Okay, so how is that even possible? I mean, if you didn't survive, then who's listening to this right now? Well, it all boils down to this really wild concept in quantum physics called the timeline split.
So to wrap your head around this, you've got to first understand something called the many worlds interpretation. The basic idea is, for every tiny event that has more than one possible outcome, a coin flip, a decision, anything, the universe doesn't just pick one. Nope, it splits. It creates a brand new, totally separate timeline where each and every one of those outcomes actually happens.
So here's how your consciousness, the you that is you, navigates this whole mess. Step 1, something deadly is about to happen. Step 2, at that exact moment, the universe splits. In timeline A, the worst happens, but in timeline B, through some miracle, you survive. And here's the absolute key, step 3. Your awareness, your subjective point of view, can't experience its own end. That's just not a thing. So, your consciousness has no choice but to follow the one path where it keeps existing. To you, it just feels like an insane stroke of luck. You have no idea that a split even happened.
And that reframes everything, doesn't it? That memory you have of a miraculous escape, it's not a story about your good luck. In this theory, it's a tombstone. It marks the precise moment you left another version of yourself behind in a timeline that is just as real as this one. So, if we're constantly jumping between these timelines, wouldn't we notice something was off? Well, the theory says yes, we would. There would be scars. And this offers a pretty wild explanation for that weird phenomenon we all know as the Mandela effect.
This is where we get these so-called glitches in the system. Come on, you know what I'm talking about. Do you remember a cornucopia, a big horn of plenty, in the Fruit of the Loom logo? Or do you swear you remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison back in the 80s? Well, in this timeline, those memories are wrong. But are they? Or are you just remembering the timeline you came from?
The idea here is that it's not a bad memory. It's data corruption. Think about it like this. Your consciousness is a computer file. When you die and make that jump, your file is just transferred to a new server, a new timeline. Now, that new timeline is like 99.9% identical to the old one, but tiny, insignificant details are different. A logo, a movie title. And your memories? They're like the leftover cache from the old server. That weird feeling that something isn't right, that's you noticing the scars of the merge.
This all brings us to the thought experiment that really forms the logical core of this whole theory. This is where we strip away all the weird, fuzzy stuff and just look at the cold, hard, and honestly terrifying logic of something called quantum suicide.
And just so you know, physicists didn't cook this up to be morbid. It was designed to push the many worlds theory to its absolute logical extreme. It's a tool built to prove a point about what it's possible to subjectively experience.
Okay, let's break this down. It's really simple. On the left, that's you. You're in a box with a gun aimed at your head. It's hooked up to a quantum trigger that has a 50-50 shot of firing every second. If it doesn't fire, you hear it click. Now think about it. If the gun fires, you aren't there to know it. So the only possible outcome you can ever experience is click. Over and over. From inside that box, it's going to feel like the gun is broken. But for the scientists standing outside, for them, it's a simple coin flip. There's a 50% chance they open that door and find you gone. And that is the absolute crux of it. For you, the person inside the box, the subjective probability of experiencing survival isn't 50-50. It is always, without fail, 100%. From your point of view, you cannot die. The gun will never fire.
And here is the final, terrifying leap. This isn't just a thought experiment. Every single day of your life is the experiment. Every time you cross a busy street, every time you take a risk, you are pulling that quantum trigger. Your continued existence is just you hearing click after click after click. And if you thought it couldn't get any weirder, you were wrong. This leads us to the final and maybe the most disturbing part of all, where this whole theory collides with simulation theory to create something called the observer's safety net.
You know that core idea in quantum physics that reality needs an observer to even exist? Well, what if you are the primary observer? What if this is all a video game and you're player one? The system can't just let you die. That would be game over. So it bends the rules. It injects luck into the system to keep you playing. But here's the really chilling part. That safety net? It might only apply to you.
The conclusion is just incredibly isolating. It suggests everyone else might just be an NPC, a non-player character. Their deaths, their tragedies, they're just plot points in your story. They're part of your narrative, but you cannot die.
So all of those close calls, all those times you defied the odds,
It wasn't luck. It was a selection process. Your consciousness is simply the one that was filtered through, the one that had to continue, hopping through an endless sea of timelines, where other versions of you weren't so fortunate.
And all of this leaves us with one final, haunting thought. If you've survived countless fatal events by unknowingly jumping to a timeline where you didn't die, then the real question isn't how you survived. The real question is, how many of your own funerals have you missed?